Ozymandias from Watchmen is kind of the same.
Yeah. Some other properties of memorable villains. Like you said, they've got to have a far-reaching influence. The minions, the fingers in manipulating things. They initially have to be untouchable, because if you can touch them from the beginning, then chances are, especially in a game sense, the players are going to go over the top to try and take them out.
Oh, yeah, I think that's our duty as gamers to try to do that. Got to get the experience.
That's right. Another aspect of villains that I like, good villains, they feel justified for what they do. They don't necessarily believe that they're bad people.
It's like crazy people don't know they're crazy.
Well, yeah. If you look at even hardened criminals, when they're questioned about, why did you do this? I'm innocent. Or there was always a reason why, they justify what they do.
I hear that every day.
Nazi Germany.
Extenuating
They were the good
circumstances.
guys.
I think it's part of the human psyche.
Sure.
People don't want to believe that they're bad, even though they are. You can talk to a drug dealer, and they're going to justify what they do. I got to pay the cable bill, whatever. However they justify it. If you run in a game, if you run a villain who feels completely justified about what he's doing and is adamant about it, I'm in the right, you are in the wrong. You're just deluded by the influences that are putting you against me.
Well, I think your take over the world type villains are more or less just trying to push their morality on the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Then they're the good guy or whatever.
Right.
They believe that they can do things better than everyone else.
Anakin thought that.
I was just about to say, not to bring up Star Wars yet again.
No, it's all
already.
right.
That's our touchstone.
That's what we do.
What that kind of reminds me of is having played the Sith side in the Old Republic. That game really shows you just how much behind-the-scenes stuff there is, and it's not these evil Jedis just crushing people's skulls with the Force. There's all this political stuff that's going on. They really think that these other alien species need to be saved from themselves, and the Empire will be the ones that will instill order and all these good characteristics from their point of view, and it makes them less of a monolithic evil thing.
And I think Lucas tried to instill some of that with his different point of view speeches and crap like that.
Yeah.
I mean, he fell flat, but in my opinion. But I think that's kind of he wanted to show that with the fall of Anakin. It was all about his point of view and how he got seduced. Episodes 1, 2, and 3 are considered subpar. I think that they strengthened Darth Vader's character, and you may disagree, Jason.
Well, they certainly fleshed it out. Because before he was a very one-sided character,
right,
until the very end.
You don't see anything of the character.
Right, that's what I'm saying. That's why
Yeah.
it fleshed it out, I think, is another way to put what Eric's talking about.
Yeah, because up until episode 6, where Luke pulls off Humpty Dumpty's mask, he's just a faceless evil. He's exactly like Sauron. He's exactly like Voldemort. The
Until you take
faceless
his mask
embodiment
off,
of evil.
and then he's just an old broken man.
Failed, crusty old white man.
I don't know if I agree that he fleshed out the character that well. I mean, I do agree that he gave more dimension to the character. I just don't necessarily agree with the direction that he took the character. And I did see something, and I wish I'd have written this down. I didn't even think about it. I saw a guy the other day. His idea for the first Star Wars movie and the subsequent movies, episodes 1, 2, and 3, is that to change the character's motivations and basically to make it a love triangle, that it's between Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Padme. And that's the reason that Anakin falls to the dark side.
Really, if you look at some of the scenes where Anakin's starting to turn, he almost implies that. He's trying to.
He just sees betrayal where there isn't.
Yeah.
We call that paranoid delusions.
Convenient storytelling.
Convenient.
The problem I have is saying that it's a character development with particularly the end of episode 2 and then all of 3, just because that's his turn, is that to me it seemed like Anakin, he embraces the dark side much too quickly for my taste.
Yeah.
We've talked about this before, and it seems like episode 1, I mean, now granted, of course, this seems like it shouldn't even need to be said, but episode 1 just should not have been made. Episode 2 should have been episode 1, and that way you have 2 movies to show the gradual slide down the dark side instead of having to cram it into the end of episode 3. I've always said that it seems like the producers looked at the runtime of the film and went, "Oh, holy crap! We've got 30 minutes to get Anakin to the dark side. Go, 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 go! Just kill toddlers. Do whatever you need to. Just
I think instead of not making episode 1, I think what they should have done was made him like 13, instead of 8 or whatever he was. Right. I think that was the mistake. No kid at 8 years old. I know some devious kids. I'm a juvenile probation officer. That's what I do for a living. I've seen some kids in my office that are about 8 years old they're really too young for us to do anything with. But those kids don't know what evil is. They don't know what bad things are.
They haven't
know what I mean?
Yeah, they're too young
haven't
to
figured that
process
out yet.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, to them, that kid's got a pencil. I want his pencil. I'm going to take his pencil. But we're talking about he killed kids in the third movie.
Right.
With a lightsaber.
I was sitting right next to Jason in the theater when we watched it, and he got misty.
I did. It was because that was upsetting. It was a terrible thing to see. Anytime children, even in a movie, it was a terrible thing to see.
They cut away. It was fun.
But you knew what he was doing, Mark.
Poor younglings.
That is the reason why they had to go, I think, with such an egregious move to the dark side, is because there's not enough time. And so they said,
pacing.
there's no pacing. So they said, how do we get Anakin to embrace the super dark side so fast? What would it take to embrace the dark side that fast? Murdering toddlers. That is how far it's that stabbing
Killing puppies.
I mean, in the second movie, I think the worst thing he did was he killed some Tusken Raiders.
Tusken Raiders, yeah.
Who, they're Tusken Raiders. Yeah, they probably had it coming. But
abducted his mother and had her tied up and stuff like that.
And
Sure,
they weren't defenseless.
somewhat.
They weren't defenseless. It's just like they live on. I almost said Arrakis.
Arrakis.
They live on Tatooine. They're pretty hardcore and badass themselves. So he probably wiped out the whole village.
Those kids had lightsabers.
And he killed children too.
Yeah.
What?
The younglings, they had lightsabers.
I
watched them practice with Master Yoda. They weren't defenseless.
They were supposed to be on the same side. He kind of took them by surprise because they thought that he was going to protect them, and then he turned on them.
That's right. Sneak attack.
It's only a surprise on the first one he kills, though. Then he's getting gang banged. I don't think I could take 15 kids.
Settle down.
And I like how Lucas's son saved Jimmy Smits there for.
He can't kill Jimmy Smits.
Jimmy Smits could have saved himself.
Jimmy Smits is a harbinger of doom for most movies that he's in, and TV shows too.
He just cooled his way out of that movie. He's Lando.
What?
Jimmy Smits. He's Lando for that trilogy.
Man,
he comes into the second movie.
Hold
he's
my
cool, but he's not very good actor.
Blasphemy.
I agree. We're talking about Billy D. freaking Williams.
I just sensed a disturbance in the
Lando.
force.
All right, so
My thing about 1, 2, 3. Since we're still talking about first episode, little kid. Okay, well, they're trying to say evil could come from anywhere. In the second movie, he's like already a back talking, creepy douche.
Yes.
And it's like I don't know if that's just the way Hayden Christensen looks, but
That and he's a terrible actor.
yeah, it's like he's eyeballing Padme. It's like,
yeah.
Well, he was a teenager, so you know what he was doing.
well, yeah. I mean,
Jerking off with the force.
Midichlorians.
if you could, you would. That's the ultimate stranger right there.
Woo!
And
They
then-
can't exactly with that hand,
Oh yeah. And
Yeah,
then-
you don't want to do it with that big robotic hand. That would no.
No.
So you're saying that was by necessity then?
yeah.
Episode 3, there's no real progression.
Well, the biggest problem with trying to create Anakin as a villain is you have to fill those Vader shoes that he just simply could not do. And if they were trying to draw an analogous, like that whiny, Luke Skywalker analogous, like that whiny bitchiness runs in the family, that really didn't work because they were taking like the worst traits of Luke and trying to put that into the big bad, which that math did not add up.
No.
Well, another thing about comparing that kind of trait with Luke and Anakin is that Luke kind of starts off that way. I was hoping to go to Tosche Station and pick up power converters, and he grows throughout the ensuing next two movies where he is kind of stoic and he's come to terms with it and he's kind of accepted his power and stuff. Whereas Anakin, to me, seemed like he got bitchier and whinier the farther the series went on.
Exactly. I was just going to say that it's when Luke lost his parents or his parental units, I guess.
Sure.
However you want to call them.
Mr. and Mrs. Conant.
He got stronger.
Yeah, he accepted it, and it actually made him want to, it strengthened his resolve to go and do something about it.
Yeah,
and not
Anakin
avenge his uncle and aunt.
I think he got angsty and
Emo.
yeah.
I was going to say, really, he gets past everybody's deaths pretty quick. Like in a scene, he gets past,
Well,
He's a sociopath.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think Luke was a sociopath. Obi-Wan, he was barely sad for like a half a scene.
Yeah.
Well,
he barely knew him.
This is true. But no, he loves him instantly. Like you've
it's
known him
Alec Guinness.
forever, and then I forget about him just as quick.
Yeah.
Well, you don't know how long it took to get from Tatooine to Alderaan, though. I mean, it could have been
No.
it could have been weeks.
Not on the Millennium Falcon.
just no.
Right.
Does it say in the movie how long it was?
No, it
How,
doesn't.
how fast can he do the Kessel Run? I would think the Kessel Run would be faster than going from.
I don't know. Why don't we get out our star charts and see how far it is?
I'm sure there's a wiki page that tells us
I'm sure.
all about this.
Yes, it's called Wikipedia.
Yes.
Wikipedia.
Of kind of how what a sociopath Luke may be, I always thought that was kind of funny that he was like kind of friends and really intimate with Obi-Wan, and then in like a span of like a few days or a couple of weeks or whatever it's supposed to be in the movies, and then after he gets killed, he's sitting there on the Millennium Falcon going, I can't believe he's gone, like he's been his mentor for years, and so he took that death really hard. But Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru are charred corpses, and he's like, I guess I'll go to Alderaan.
So what we're really saying here is the progression of Luke really isn't that much better than the progression of Anakin. We just love those movies.
I've been trying to say it's actually kind of worse.
Yeah, it probably is.
It's like
At least there's a progression. Anakin has no progression. He starts off bitchy and gets gradually bitchier until he kills everybody. So I mean, I don't know.
Says, no.
Like I said, the faceless embodiment of evil. I attributed Vader to that. The original version of Vader.
There was a period when I was very young when I thought that the Stormtroopers and Vader were all supposed to be robots.
Right.
Because, you're old enough to recognize a guy in a suit, but you can't tell if they're supposed to be like a guy in armor or a robot.
Same thing with C-3PO. How do you know that's not a dude in a suit or a
Well,
robot?
it's Anthony Daniels in a suit.
Anyway, Sauron, like I said, Voldemort, and I actually faceless embodiment of evil. I gave Jason Voorhees that nod too, even though, like you said, he's kind of like a monster or like a creature. But he's supposed to be like a revenant. He died because the camp counselors were all having sex.
Right. He's awakened and angered by sex.
Yeah, that's his
By
motivation.
teenagers having a good time.
Well, I never realized what a cockblock Jason was.
Then there's the shadowy reflections of the hero, like the Joker. He's the shadowy reflection of Batman.
Yeah.
Gollum.
Just as crazy.
Gollum is the shadowy reflection of Frodo.
Sure.
Yeah.
Or
Definitely.
Bilbo.
Samuel L. Jackson and Bruce Willis.
Unbreakable.
What?
Unbreakable.
Oh,
Good call.
That is a damn good call.
I feel like you're talking about Die Hard 3. I was like,
Yes, Die Hard 3.
I'm too old for this shit.
No, he said, hey, Zeus.
Interesting little factoid about that scene where he has the placard, the sandwich board when he's in Harlem.
Yeah.
They actually had to Photoshop the N-word in there for the theatrical release because they wouldn't put that on there when they were actually filming that. I
that
found
would
out.
be a bad idea.
Wow.
The sociopath.
Luke Skywalker.
Apparently Luke Skywalker.
I would go Joker is probably another sociopath example too.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Hannibal Lecter.
Hannibal
The
Lecter.
very the prim and proper. Actually one of I wanted to quote this because this is actually pretty good. One of the guys on RPGNet forum named Ravenswing said, and I'll quote him, "Epic villains work a lot better when they're quite likable, aside from the fact that they represent ultimate evil." One of my favorites chatted engagingly to a poor bastard PC he was about to sacrifice to Asmodeus. Just because he was going to cut out the fellow's heart didn't mean he had to be unpleasant about it. After all, may I offer you some tea? Is there a next of kin that you want me to inform?
Wow.
A very benevolent villain.
The first thing I thought when I read that, I want to play with this guy. I want to play in this guy's game. When I read that, the other thing that I thought of was Hannibal Lecter. When he's what was old boy's name? The guy he's
Feeding him his own brain.
feeding him his own brain.
It was Ray Liotta's character. I don't
Ray
remember.
Liotta, right.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Graham.
and it's like, ooh, that smells good. And it's, oh yeah, here, have some more. I mean, that's the first thing that came to my mind.
Patrick Bateman from the American Psycho is kind of
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Where you don't really know if he's actually a villain or not, or maybe just a little bit crazy.
Well, I think you figure out pretty quickly.
Yeah, Norman Bates is another good one.
Oh, yeah.
He's a very nice young man.
With mommy issues.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
Oh, so is Ed Gein.
That's true. And then another one that I came up with, Mr. Blonde.
Yes. That guy had problems.
That was Michael Madsen, right?
Yes.
Yes. I was thinking about that scene today. When I was at work. That song was played on the radio, and I was just like,
Oh, I can't hear that song.
Yeah, I was going to say that song is forever changed
Yeah.
in my mind.
I usually change the station when it comes on.
I love that song.
Then there's The Fool, and that's Prince Humperdinck.
Yeah.
I mean,
He wasn't really the villain. He was.
sure he was.
Who else was the villain in that movie? Vizzini?
No, the Six-Fingered Man. He was a real bad guy. He was a coward, but
And then, of course, there's the bully, and I found 3 examples of the bullies, which...
Oh, I've got mine ready.
Okay,
If you don't
ready.
say it,
Scut
I've got-
Farkas.
Locked and loaded. Scut
Scut
Farkas is
Farkas.
a good one. The Wicked Witch of the West is a good bully. Nurse Ratched from
yeah.
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Yeah.
And then my personal favorite, Nellie Olson.
Oh, yes.
Hated that bitch.
I hated that show. I'll one up you.
Say, I don't think I'm familiar. Who? Nellie Olson. Where's
Little
that
House on the Prairie.
Little House on the Prairie.
Oh, jeez, I didn't watch that.
Yes.
Yes, but if you did, you would hate Nellie Olson.
And her brother.